10 years of his blitzball career, he's never won a game, even one time. He's never won one time.
That's kind of crazy.
And he retired, apparently, but now he's gotten back into it. He retired, and he says, I got this new job, which is his guardianship.
He's a guardian.
He became a guardian for you.
Of a summoner.
Yeah. But he doesn't say that yet, right? He says, but every time my mind wandered, I thought about the game. So he couldn't quite let go of blitzball. So he's kind of coming back for one more tournament. With this tournament they're going to go to in Lucca, and then he's going to really for sure retire. But he wants to win.
It sounded like he was actually close to winning his first game when he retired. But I think he mentions this to Titus. And he's like, yeah, but my mind was fuzzy and I was thinking of something else. And Titus was like, excuses.
Yeah, excuses, yeah.
And Waka's like, yeah, whatever. This is one thing I love about Waka. People, every now and then, people will kind of make him the butt of a joke or rip on him a little. He takes it all so well.
Yeah.
He just smiles. Like Lulu does this, and a lot of people will do this. They'll just kind of they'll say something to him that some people would take offensive.
Yes.
Like Leon from FF8.
Oh, sure.
Squall. For example, I always call him Leon because I played Kingdom Hearts first.
Yes.
But so from then on, whereas it's like, oh, those are fighting words. I'm going to fight you. But Waka just smiles. He's just got this chill attitude where he's just like, nah, he's not going to take offense easily. He's very slow to anger. It's a cool aspect of him.
And what I really like about that, and I won't say too much about this yet to avoid spoiling something that'll probably come up in the next episode or maybe 2 from now, is that I really like that they attach you to Waka first.
Oh, yeah.
Based on where this character, certain things about him that will be revealed soon, that might make you feel more conflicted about him. Mm-hmm. Like, they really make you like him first. They have a bond that feels very genuine and real between Titus and Waka. And I think that that's very important for the storytelling in order for this part of the game's theme to work.
Sure.
And have nuance and to actually be something that can be conflicting for people. So I really, really like how they attach you to him early on.
Nice.
For that reason. On your way down, you encounter the 2 Crusader duo, Luzu and Gata. And you'll see them over and over again throughout the story.
That conversation's interesting.
Yeah, this is where Waka explains how to pray again, the blitzball symbol, right? The hand gesture.
Yeah.
And he's like, do you remember how to pray? He's like, no. He's like, what? How could you not remember?
Step back and you do the thing.
And this is when he's like, this was the symbol of victory
I know.
In my time. This is not religious at all.
Yeah, well,
what's going on?
Exactly.
I also
and he's like every
down.
blitzball player in the world knows what that means. That was a cool moment. I love that moment right there where he's just like, of course I knew how to do the salute.
Yes. I really loved this too. It was just funny. When they run into the 2 Crusaders and they leave, I think Titus asks him something about who were those guys or something. And Waka's like, oh, they were Crusaders. And Titus says, crews of what? He doesn't know what the word Crusader is. He does not know the word Crusader. I thought that was hilarious. Crews of what?
Crews of what?
He's like, dude, this is, and I especially like it because it's he doesn't know anything, right?
He knows literally
And
nothing.
so when you go and talk to the Crusaders in their tent there in the village, they explain who the Crusaders are.
Yeah.
For 800 years, they've been trying to combat sin.
Yeah.
We've steered sin away from towns many times, but we've never been able to defeat it. That's all we could do. Mm-hmm. And, because Titus is asking all these questions, how have you not, defeated it yet? What? He doesn't know anything.
It's pretty funny, too, because they're like, oh, we've done great. We've been able to lure it away and stuff. And he's like, yeah, but you haven't succeeded at all. You guys are kind of suck at what you do. Sin's still around, and it's this moment where they're just feeling bad.
And he basically says that it's not there. He says something along the lines of, it's not that they can't do it, right? And Titus says, whose job is it to defeat sin? And then Gata's response, and I love even the way the voice actor puts it. It's just so good. Is Sin's toxin really this bad, sir?
That's right. Is Sin's toxin really this bad? Because Titus is so just absent. It's so funny.
Anything. Like, how is it possible for someone not to know this? Could Sin's toxin actually be that bad? And then so Luzo's like, it does seem pretty bad. It does.
Because I'm sure they've met other people who've had this happen, and it's nothing like Titus, right? Just like forgetting everything.
So he's like, look, I could explain all this to you, but it's probably better that you try to remember it. So like, just go
like
out
kindergarten stuff
and live, and just like, you know, pray some more, and hopefully like Yevon will help you restore your memory, because like, it's going to do no good for us to just tell you literally everything.
They'd have to start from the beginning, right? It's like, that's so funny.
I really liked that scene.
I think it's revealed during this conversation that they've been excommunicated as well from Yevon.
Yes.
So, and it's partly because, like, well, gosh, how do I explain this? These two have been excommunicated. But because of that, they couldn't go with us like into the temple and stuff.
Yes,
right? It's like they're not allowed to go into the temple and stuff.
Yes.
But they still believe though, right?
Yes. That's
the interesting part.
They still believe, but they're willing to do things that are against the teachings of Yevon to try to fight sin.
And that seems to be like, that's kind of what the Crusaders do more or less. Like they are
sacrifice
on the side of the church.
Their standing in the religion to protect the people of spirit, kind of a thing.
And we'll get into what that means later on, like what they're doing specifically or how they're doing it. But it's enough to say, it's interesting, the first people that we meet who are talking about saying, hey, go pray, go to Yevon and all this stuff, maybe not the first, but the first in-depth conversation we've had about this are from people who've been excommunicated from the church, right? They're not allowed to do this.
Right.
And that's an interesting way to introduce something where they're still friendly to it. And they're telling us to do it. Oh, but we can't. But everyone else can. But
they've been excommunicated.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
Okay, so you go rest. Oh no, wait. You go into the temple first.
Yeah,
and you see people praying.
Well, first off, I have to say, I played the original game years ago, and this time I'm playing like the remaster. It looks really good. The textures are really, really good. The detail's phenomenal.
Square Enix recently has come under fire for bad ports or, you know, lazy remasters of things. Whether it's the PlayStation 1 FF game remasters,
those ones.
which like don't bother to upscale the backgrounds, but like the characters are really crisp and the backgrounds are like
I hate that.
Really low resolution.
I hate it when that happens.
Certain things that people pick at and be like, you know, why can't you go through the effort to like make a really good remaster of this amazing game? This cannot be said about Final Fantasy X remaster.
It's really good.
Very well done.
On
basically all accounts. It's hard to complain about anything unless you're going to complain about the differences in the faces. Like Titus's face and Yuna's face.
They didn't reanimate everything, and the faces do look. They don't look quite like the FMVs. My wife commented on this almost every time. Every time an FMV would show Yuna, like, my wife would be like, "Oh, she's pretty." Oh my God, geez. It doesn't look the same.
Well, yeah, because they have completely different models for those. Right?
Yeah, very different. And her cheekbones,
way higher
and
polygons, and different, like way better textures and
better, but also they look different. They really do look like different people, at least subtly, but still.
I've always wondered like what they do for that. Like, do they? Would it not be well? Would it, anyone who does 3D modeling, I've only done like this much of it ever. So like I don't understand completely what the method behind this would be in the context of game development. Would you not take your high polygon unimodel that you use in the FMVs? Or actually, this is another part of this. There's sometimes it's a different company that does the FMV
a different company. In fact, that was the case here. It was. It's like a second party. It's like an internal Square thing, but it's separate. It wasn't part of the dev team.
But I would wonder why you wouldn't have shared assets.
You would think so,
right? But anyways, let's say you had access to.
I think they do it the opposite though. You're saying why don't they design the high poly model first and then base the low poly off of it? That's not. They do it otherwise. They do it the other way.
Just remove polygons.
That is a better way.
But I know, like specifically for hair, you would really have to do this on the PS2 because they couldn't. Yeah, like anyways, just basically to replace the whole hair.
Yeah.
But maybe that would have been a better way to go about it so that they look more similar. Because I remember just from this era in general, they never look the same.
Not
like
close
in the
enough.
Prince of Persia games,
Tidus
it's the same
is
way.
Pretty close.
Yeah.
Yuna is really not
like
very close.
In the Prince of Persia games, I always thought this was weird too. Not only does he look completely different from the FMV sequences to how he looks in the regular gameplay, he looks different in every game.
No, he
so
does.
Like the first,
it's
second,
true.
and third game, he's like his whole face changes.
It's quite different.
It's just like really annoying. Like use the same model, please. Like,
or at least make it look the same. Yeah.
So, anyways, aside from that, you know, models looking a little different from their PS2 counterparts, which I think they looked better on PS2.
Yeah.
This is an excellent remaster.
Oh,
really,
it's very
really
good.
excellent. So he's in there, and he's seeing people praying, and they have statues of other high summoners, right?
Yeah.
So it's where he learns about Lord Braska, the last high summoner.
Because that was the most recent statue to be
who had
erected.
defeated Sin 10 years ago.
Yeah, before the previous calm, or the current calm.
Yeah. So, or he set out 10 years ago anyways. I think he actually defeated Sin something like 8 years ago.
Oh, okay.
In the timeline of this, because anyways, we'll learn more about a previous attempt that was made very recently that failed, that Lulu was a part of. But in any case, it was a very short, what they call calm period. The calm periods are the periods in which the High Summoner banishes Sin for a while, and they can live peacefully. This is another thing that is fuzzy as a detail to me that I'm hoping through talking to, look out for this NPC as you're playing. Machen, he's an older man in like kind of green robes, and like a long white beard. He's basically the lore NPC of this game.
Oh, nice.
You talk to him and he explains everything about the world.
Nice.
So I'm going to be looking out for him and for other hints about how this works, because I think that the calm periods are of different lengths.
I had the idea that the calm periods were getting shorter and shorter.
I've heard that too.
I don't know if that's
And
accurate.
I think there is some evidence for that, and there are other people who say no. So this is something I've heard conflicting accounts of between different fans of Final Fantasy X, and I don't think they ever specify, even in the Ultimania, like specifically how long each calm period was. But I do think they are different lengths. I don't think they're all like a decade or less, like this.
Like every time. The idea each time is that it's the last time, something like that, right?
Yeah, like they think this is going to be permanent this time.
I talk about, in my notes here, I do talk about the idea of a spiral, which is what Spira means. It's the idea of a spiral is that it is a cycle that is different each time.
Yes.
And that actually has a beginning and an end.
Yes.
Whereas a circle is the same and has no beginning or end. A spiral varies slightly each time.
Sure.
But it does eventually end, and it does start at a beginning. So anyways, Spira being based on the word spiral as opposed to, the idea of a circle being the cycle, it might actually be, what you're saying kind of lends to the idea that I think was part of the theme of the world, right?
Yeah. Anyways, so this is Lord Braska. He was the last High Summoner. They've got him memorialized as a statue there.
This temple's sweet, by the way.
Yeah, it's really cool.
It's freaking cool.
Again, he has to make the excuse that he got too close to Sin's toxin.
This is where he mentioned specifically, he's like, I feel so stupid.
Like,
saying this every time.
Can't believe I have to say this over and over.
Yeah, but they are legitimately like disturbed by his lack of knowledge.
Yeah,
like he's like, who's Braska? What do summoners do? And everyone's just like, oh, and they all do the sign, the holy, and he's just like, and they're like, dude, you're kind of this close to blaspheming and getting like sentenced to death or excommunicated.
And then he very deliberately crosses that line.
I know. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. It's so funny.
Because he goes back to Waka's hut, and someone comes to Waka, who is a guardian of Yuna. We're going to learn here in a second.
Yeah.
And it's like, they haven't come out yet. Like, something might be wrong. And he's like, well, we can't interfere. That's against the rules. He was like, but like,
and it's been over a day.
It's been a long time.
Note here. It's been over a day since she entered that temple, and she's still there.
So Waka goes to the temple, and we have a little dream sequence again here with Tidus. It's a memory more, I guess. But where it's like where his mother is being informed that Jecht was lost at sea. And child Tidus is like, who cares whether he comes back
let him
or not?
die.
And she's like, but he might die. And he says, fine, let him. Do you hate him so? And he's nodding his head. If he dies, you'll never be able to tell him how much you hate him. Now, this is just that was interesting. This is actually true even of Cowboy Bebop, which we're going to be talking about next for our exclusive Patreon podcast. in anime and RPGs like this, I feel like they really overdo kids' voices, like the whininess of it.
Yeah.
Like really overdo it. Like this does not sound like a child. It sounds like an adult. What an adult thinks a child whining sounds like.
An adult who hates kids.
Yeah. Who cares if he comes back or not?
That's pretty funny.
Fine, let him. You know.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. Anyways, it's not like a big deal. It's just something I notice a lot in anime. Like anytime a kid is being voiced by an adult, they'll like make them really whiny for some reason like that.
But the idea is, Tidus really hates his father.
He really
apparently
hates his dad
a lot. And given that the mother is so worried, you would think, well, maybe Tidus's hate for his father isn't
justified.
Yeah. Yeah. There would have to be some weird situation where the mother is that okay with the kid who hates his father that much.
Yes.
Maybe there's some misremembering going on, or maybe there's something
Does she
else
not
here.
know of
Or is
something
she unaware?
he's doing?
Yeah, sure.
Like we're going to learn more about it later, obviously.
We will, but there's there's
the fact that she doesn't appear to think of Jecht at all in the way that Tidus does.
Yeah, not even close.
Suggests something is probably different than the way Tidus perceives it to be.
And this was a decade ago.
Yeah.
So, Tidus has grown up a lot since then, and who knows what was going on there.
Whether what he remembers is entirely accurate.
I want to talk just briefly about the temple, just a little bit, because it's so cool. As soon as we walk in, the camera kind of tilts up, and you see these two big statues, right? Similar to, this was not an accident.
The Blitzball.
At the Blitzball arena, there were two statues holding their spears right in front of the entrance to that temple, right? Now this temple but it's on the interior part. Once you walk in, you see these two big statues. And there's some really cool symbolism going on here. There's a woman statue on the left, right? And then on the right, you have a man statue. And the woman is symbolized with a moon. The man is symbolized with a sun. There's the yin and yang thing going on here. And the woman is as naked as video games allow statue women to be, at least at that time. And that is like a nature, kind of the idea of like a pure nature, kind of natural person. And then the male figure is just clothed like for the severest winter that is coming, just like tons, just robes upon robes, and just like all the flowing garments, And he's got a beard, and it's like it's sort of a juxtaposition the way they show it because they edit it together, but the contrast there is really cool. So you've got a yin and yang thing going on here. But what's even cooler is that in between the two of them, there is a mandala on the ground. Just the most beautiful, massive mandala, just the coolest design, right? And that design means 100 different things. But before I go into that, above the mandala is the entrance to the temple where the summoners go to procure the aeons, right?
Oh, right.
And that is like you've got the people, the mandala, and then above the mandala is the ion, or at least where the ion is summoned. And you'll notice when ions are summoned in this game that there's this big mandala that shows up first,
on the ground,
and then
they swoop in.
They will swoop in based on that design or whatever, and being called forth by a summoner. Anyways,
I wonder.
It's pretty cool.
We'd have to look closely at this, but I wonder if the design of that temple corresponds with the Valifor sign. So when she summons Valifor specifically, is
Valifor?
that symbol the same? And is it different for Ifrit or the other summons?
Each Aeon, it's a different mandala, but these are the mandalas for summoning Aeons.
And I wonder if
the one at the temple is different than all of these.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the one at the temple is super, super cool. It's way more intricate. It's bigger. It's just got more going on there. The whole game is almost summarized in this mandala. So I'm not going to go into massive specifics about it, but just like look at it and just like look at this mandala, and you basically see the story of the game.
Wow.
It's really cool.
That's crazy.
But I can just talk about just a couple things here. So on the ground, you see there's the octafoil. You have to look up what all these mean if you want to spoil the game for yourself. But there's an octafoil, which has several meanings, but it can mean the O-goad. By the way, the O-goad is like, you have the monad. This is the first ion, right?
Yes.
This is Gnostic. Yes. I think this game's like heavily Gnostic influenced, by the way. So because the word aeon is kind of a Gnostic word.
Yeah.
But the monad is the one, right? Mono, one, monad, and then the doad, and the triad. Anyways, it goes all the way down to the O-goad, which is the first 8 gods, right? But that is a thing. It's a specific thing within Gnosticism, is that the O-goad are considered the first emanations of God, and that's like a generation.
Yeah.
And then it goes from there down about all the other different gods and stuff. But it's 8. The number's 8, and the number of ions in this game is 8. So
that's true. The ions 8. Yeah.
You have the octafoil, which is all the circles, together in 8 of them. And then you have the 8-leafed white lotus, which represents transformation and meditation or mediation. And the white lotus is an Eastern symbol. This temple is very Eastern. Having been to Japan and gone to like Shinto shrines and stuff, like the statues and everything that's around and just kind of the atmosphere of the whole place, it's very Eastern. It feels very Hindu, Buddhist type, and even Shinto as well. So at the very beginning, you have a cross that's surrounded by the white lotus, surrounded by the octafoil, surrounded by earth, surrounded by multiple circles with a gap. Anyways, I say I can analyze this one symbol to death, and it would give away the entire game. It's such a fascinating symbol, but I think it'd be fun to take another look at this at the end of the game. Yeah, maybe when we're done with this podcast, to come back, and then maybe I can walk everyone through like what this means, because it's really cool. It's really cool, and it's not unintentional. In fact, I have a quote here from Tetsuya Nomura saying that, and he did the characters, but I think it was a general philosophy for the whole game, that he no longer, which implies he used to do this, he says, I no longer want to design characters based on just arbitrary symbols and things. I want it all to mean something.
Yeah, right.
I'm like, well, they freaking did that in this game. That is for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm actually excited for that, because I didn't really even look at that at all.
I only did because I'm just like freaking way into it these days. But yeah, it's cool. But so anyways, Tidus is hearing about this. Everyone's worried about this summoner, Yuna, and they're just like, she's in there. And he's like, okay, so therefore,
like,
let's go get her.
Go get her.
Go check on her.
It's against the rules or whatever.
Yeah, we're not allowed to go see her. He's like, well, screw you
I like
guys.
his line is, like I care.
Like I care.
He just runs in.
And he runs in. And I love this. I love how he's just breaking their religious rules. I think it's great, because when an outsider comes in, one of the things that an outsider, there's like the archetype of the fool, and this is a big deal within like a tarot card deck has the fool. One of the cards is the fool, and there's like half of the cards in the tarot card deck outline basically the fool's journey, and how the fool is just bumbling through life and wanders into the other different archetypes that are set out within the tarot cards, right? But the idea is that he's a fool. He doesn't know anything. He doesn't know what's going on. But the fool, kind of like the court jester in a court, by being a fool, you are allowed to kind of reveal the ridiculousness of whatever system is going on, right? Like an old saying is that the only person allowed to criticize the king was his jester.
So you're saying this is a fool's journey,
this
not
is
a hero's journey.
Actually, the fool's journey and the hero's journey overlap quite a bit, but yes, this is the fool's journey. This game is the fool's journey. Anyways, it doesn't mean fool like he's totally stupid.
Yeah.
But
he kind of is.
Titus kind of is.
He kind of is.
But I love it, because the fool can really show a system that is in need of change.
Yeah.
And the fool can step into that system unknowingly and kind of just poke fun at it and get people to see it in a different way, you know. But he just runs right through.
Yep.
I freaking love it. I thought it was so funny.
So you go through your first cloister of trials.
Now, I thought somebody was going to stop us.
Nope.
They're like, don't go, don't. Whatever, he's gone. And then
comes
I
in,
guess the priests just stay there. You know, it's like
because they can't go in.
Oh, that's a good point. Oh my gosh, you're right. Okay, there you go. You're right.
They can't.
I didn't think of that.
It's against the freaking rules.
So okay, that's fine.
So it's just like, well, fetch. Like, we can't do anything about it. Waka can, because he's a guardian.
He's
so
a guardian.
Goes in.
Yeah, he can go in.
But anyways, he catches up with you after you do your cloister of trials, right?
Yeah.
But
takes him a while.
This is where you meet Yuna for the first time. She finally emerges from whatever she was
and she's
doing there.
She's like
exhausted,
in a daze, yeah.
And just like almost like falls over and Kimahri runs up and like catches her.
Oh, that shot was great, by the way.
Yeah.
So as soon as she starts falling and you see Tidus, like gesture as though he's moving forward.
It looks like he's going to go catch her.
And then someone catches her.
Yeah.
You don't, and then it zooms out and it was someone else.
Yes.
That was cool.
It was really well done.
And I don't even, like, it's such a simple thing, but that was really cool.
Yeah.
That shows, like, it really shows the dedication of Kimahri, first of all. He's got his eye on her.
Yeah.
And he's making sure that whatever happens, he is able to help her out.
This happens again really soon on the boat as you're heading to the Kilika port when Sin attacks. Like,
yes, Kimahri.
Tidus is holding her hand, but he slips from her.
Yeah.
And Kimahri's the one who keeps her from
He's the one that
falling
grabs her. Yeah. And Kimahri's just a beast, right?
He's always protected her, she says, from when she was a little girl.
From before.
So he's always been around for her. Yeah.
And that's a perfect character intro for him.
Yeah.
I would have so assumed it was Tidus. I was surprised, shocked not only to see that it was Kimahri, but that Kimahri is. This is our first like monster-ish looking dude, like not human
the Ronzo
person.
people.
Yeah, and it's like first off, there's a lot of things going on there. So there's like a contrast that is very startling to see. But like artistically, it couldn't have been done better. I really thought that he caught her because they used the juxtaposition to make me think that. Yeah. Like I loved it. It was so good.
I noticed that too. I thought that was really well done. Let's see. Oh, we forgot to say this. This comes up again with the Blitzball people. I guess we'll just go over it then.
Okay.
She is successful, but she overestimated or underestimated the difficulty.
The thing overestimated herself.
Overestimated her own abilities.
Yes.
And so that's why she took so long. Yeah. But she came out successful.
And we don't even know what she was doing in there.
Yeah, it's like the holy of holies of this world.
Yep.
Right.
The inner
but she gains the ability to summon her first Aeon.
Yes.
Valfor.
And then as soon as she's like feeling better and not so dizzy, she like brushes her hair out and smiles, and she's like, everybody.
The whole village.
Well, but even before that, while she's still there, she's just like, I did it, But she couldn't do it so well right then and there, right? She was too tired.
Yeah.
But just a little bit later, and she kind of gets her energy back, and she's just like so excited, you know. And then then it takes us out. I thought we were going to meet her right then and there, but we don't.
Nope.
And then she's outside, and I thought we were going to meet her there, and we still don't.
Not yet.
And, well, it's really, I just freaking love it. But
yeah, she demonstrates it. She summons Valifor. And like, this is another thing that for all the rest of the people is normal. Like, yay, so this is what summoners do.
And we're
Tidus is like, a fetching monster got summoned. Like, it was really scary.
He has never seen anything like that in his life. In his life.
Yeah.
In fact, based on the way Xanarkand looks, the way they present it early in the game, it doesn't look like he's ever seen an animal before. Like, there is no nature. There is no nature in Xanarkand.
Yeah.
It's like, has he even seen a bird? Like, he hasn't seen hardly anything.
Yeah.
And here he sees the biggest monster.
On the ship again a little later, he sees the chocobos as the engine of the ship, and he's like, what is a chocobo? He doesn't seem to know what a chocobo is.
He's like mad about it.
Yeah.
He's like upset, and they're just like, chill, we just use chocobo power, it's not a big deal. And he's just like, but what are you doing? What is this?
Yeah.
He's like freaking out.
He doesn't know a lot of things related to nature and animals and things like that. So
and part of the reason you would use more of like the fool's journey as opposed to the typical hero's journey is to introduce players like us to a brand new world that we don't know.
Yes.
Like if FF10's your first game, you don't know what a chocobo is.
Yes.
So your reaction's the same as his.
Yes.
And I'm glad he's there. He can be stupid for me, so I don't have to feel stupid.
Yes.
But I don't know what that is either, right? And so there's a reason why they would use a fool's journey to introduce someone to a new world.
This is the major difference between Final Fantasy 13 and this game. Your point of view character is a fish out of water who doesn't know anything, just like us. So he's the avatar for the player. And so when he asks these questions, it's like okay because he doesn't know it.
Yeah.
And so that's how you get out of the as you know dialogue.
Exactly. Yeah.
Is having a person who doesn't know.
There you go. Now you don't have that.
In Final Fantasy 13, they're trying to introduce this really complex world like this, but everybody in the cast should already know it because they grew up in this world. Yeah. So it's like there's no point of view character who can ask those obvious questions to help orient the audience. So it's tough, but like the easiest way is to just have a fish out of water character who doesn't know things.
Yeah.
So that you can ask those obvious questions. But anyway, later that night.
Yes, this is important.
The Blitzball
in the
team,
daytime, he was not able to meet her, but at night.
Oh yeah, you were talking about the symbol, the sun and moon, where it's symbolized on those statues.
Now I don't want to say what their names are. Is it okay? Is that a big deal if I say who those statues are?
I don't even know who they are. So.
Oh, okay. Should I?
Well, I was just going to bring up Tita and Yuna.
Okay. Yes. Like well, that is the idea.
The words.
Yes.
Symbolizing being a broader symbol, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Now, and also, as we will find out later on, who the statues are of, it is of a similar situation of other people.
Oh, okay.
In a previous.
I think I know what you're talking
previous
about now. I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay. I did not realize that. I just don't look at these things that closely. So.
I didn't either until recently. And honestly, it's only because of this podcast where I'm like, all right, dude, I gotta really analyze this game and see what's going on here, you know?
So the Blitzball team is together. And Waka's telling them that the new goal is not to do our best. That's the part I missed about their earlier conversation.
Yeah.
Where he's like, as long as we do our best, like I'll be happy with that. And Titus is like, no, like you play to win the game.
You play to win the game, yeah. This is part of where I'm thinking, like Titus has got his what would you call it? The Xanarkand culture, you know, of like you win. Who cares about anything else? You just win, and that's why you play the game is to win. And he's approaching this group of people who treat it as a religion.
Yeah.
And he's like, dude, you gotta win, man. And they're just like, no, I'm just participating in my religious, like, part of the religious tradition of my. And he's like, no, dude, you gotta beat those guys. You gotta beat them so bad. But it turns out we do see some other Blitzball players later, and they're pretty set on winning too. So it's mostly just Waka. He's just too easygoing, man. He's too chill about everything.
And so this is where he's introducing them to the fact that their new goal is victory, right?
Victory. And they all say it.
Victory.
I love how they use the same animation for the
And this is when
players.
Titus kind of slips away to go and meet Yuna for the first time. And all the people around her, get away from the summoner! Like, don't talk to her.
Because they know word must travel quickly, but they know that we freaking ran into their holy place, right? And that's not cool.
Not only is that against the teachings for him to have done that, so it makes him hedonistic or
or a heathen. Both. Yeah.
Yes. Anyways, it puts that status on him, but having done that actually has consequences for her.
Yes.
Which is what they bring up in the next
They bring
temple,
it up later,
where it's like,
dude, you gotta stop doing this.
This is why, like, Donna like pushes him in there because she's trying to get Yuna excommunicated.
Yes, yeah.
And so she is in danger of being excommunicated if someone like him enters while she's in there.
I think the reason it worked out this time is because she didn't know who we were and we didn't know who she was. Like, there was no connection.
Right.
Like,
he didn't realize that was going to happen.
Whereas later on, we kind of we were with her posse, you know, and so that became more of an issue, I think.
Anyways, this is why these people are upset that he's
Yes, they're very upset.
But he doesn't anyways.
We could ruin it for the summoner.
He doesn't care.
Yeah, he doesn't care.
So he's talking to her. It's a nice first interaction. But what I really liked
She's
about
very
this,
open. She's so like easygoing, and she seems to like us like right away. In fact, she seems to like everybody right away. She's got that personality.
But what I liked here is that this is the first person since he's been here that not only like is not taken aback by the mention of Xanarkand, she like already suspects it and believes him about it.
Yes, that's right.
And it's just like, whoa.
That's right.
And that's how she like leaves the conversation.
And she had heard through the grapevine also that Titus had said he played for the Xanarkand Apes.
Yeah.
Or that something
and
like
she's
that.
like totally on board with that.
Yeah.
So it like
she's
leaves
like, I believe you.
A cliffhanger for this sort of like developing new relationship. That like, ooh, there's a mystery there. Like there's something about her where she is okay with this idea of Xanarkand, but she's a high summoner. Like a person of this culture who
she's very religious.
should be reacting like someone like Waka, or you're going to upset people if you talk about Xanarkand.
Oh yeah.
But she reveals why the next day when they're on the ship.
Yeah.
But we may not get there today.
No. The conversation's great. It's so short, but basically, like, we don't know what to say. It's just like, hey, what's up? Yeah, I'm the Xanarkand dude, whatever. Sorry about earlier. Anyways, that was a cool summon you did, and that's where Yuna immediately breaks her like just her polite character. He's just like, that was really cool, and she was just like, really? You thought so? I did a good job, didn't I? And she becomes like, you see her this whole time, and I suppose other than that moment where she's like, I did it, you guys, like that. She seems a little childish, but she seems very mature. At least that she's holding herself to the expectation of being mature, but that she has these little moments where she kind of breaks down and shows that she's 17 years old.
Yes,
right? She is a kid, and she is just, she's still got like a personality there. She's not just
I like
stoic a stoic, mature woman.
Yeah, I like that too.
Yeah, I thought it was great. That was a fun.
So it's a nice
exchange.
first interaction,
Yeah.
and there's a promise that we'll talk more tomorrow on the ship, on the journey, whatever.
Yeah.
So Titus goes to sleep, and this time it's definitely a dream, not a memory. And
Yes.
it's actually really, really good. I feel like it was really effective at giving the, a very intuitively convincing feeling of what dreams are like.
Sure, yes.
It's just,
absolutely,
just like weird, and like things just happen that don't make sense.
And it makes sense it would be here too.
Yeah.
Like he just met a girl. He kind of thinks she's cool.
Yeah.
But he also met that other girl.
Yeah.
And now what? And his dream is kind of like him trying to figure out how to navigate between these two girls he just met that he likes because he's 17. I love it.
But it also deals with like stuff that you're afraid of, right? Like your brain sort of like practices stressful,
when you're dreaming.
difficult situations to sort of like work out like how are you going to react to these types of things.
That seems to be that
right?
way, yeah.
It's almost like a practice.
Yeah, yeah.
And so like, anyways, the dream is really interesting because
it's fascinating.
he's talking to Yuna, like on the docks of Besaid. And she's talking about, will you take me to Xanarkand with you? And then Riku comes running out. Oh, you said you take me. And he's like jogging in place, which
like
is just like this really weird
reaction.
But it's like presented in this weird way that's so dreamlike, where it's just he's like turned his back to her, and he's like, it's just, it introduces a strangeness to all of it.
Oh, very much
that
so.
That feels very true to dreams. And then like...
Because until Riku showed up, I didn't know whether this was a dream or a memory.
Yeah.
Or if there was something that had happened or was a premonition or something. Yeah. As soon as she shows up, I'm like, oh, this is a dream. And then Tita starts acting weird too, and I'm just like, okay, this is totally
really strange.
And
then all of a sudden he hears his father, Jecht's voice, saying, hey, stop dreaming. You with a woman? You can't even catch a ball. So he starts making fun of him.
Both the girls are
appear
next
behind
to
him.
Yes.
And I loved that.
Yes, I know.
That feels so dreamlike too.
Yes,
it's like, oh, everyone's making fun of me. It like puts you in this very bad place. And then that's when he turns back into a child again.
That's right.
Like he changes from his 17-year-old form to his child form.
Yes.
And he's like crying.
And in the presence of his dad, that's how he feels. He feels like he's just a kid, and
And it's, oh, what's the matter? You gonna cry?
You cry, baby. Yeah.
Cry, cry, cry. That's the only thing you're good for. And he says it quietly, Titus does. He says, I hate you. And he's like, huh, what'd you say? And then the girls are saying, you have to speak loudly. Mm-hmm. So, I hate you, he screams out. And Jack's just like, huh? He's like confused. And then the girls are like, that's the spirit, you can do it. It gets really weird.
Yes.
And then he wakes up saying, I hate you.
Yes. I thought there was going to be a moment where it was like, oh, but there was someone in the room with us, and we're just like, I hate you. But they ended up not going that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a great dream. That was very good for how dreams are. I remember at first being like, hey, this is weird. But by the end of it, I was like, that's a pretty good representation of how dreams tend to go.
Yes.
Right? They just expose your inner fears, and you just like, the reality of the world just breaks in your dream, and it just becomes this mess,
Yeah,
I thought that was great.
Really, really well done. But I think we'll probably stop there, and then start up next week with leaving Besaid and arriving at the Kilika port. And I think I this time I feel certain we can get through the point that we've said to play up to 3 times now, which is the Kilika Temple.
Yes. I got some more notes. I was really hoping to get to this today, but I've got some lengthy discussion topics.
This at the pace we're going right now, this is looking like another Xenogears podcast. 20 episodes.
Well, I think it's front loaded. I think a lot of this stuff is front loaded. The game is just so meaningful, and there's just so much there, and there's so much that's well done that we just can't skip over it.
Yeah. So anyways,
hopefully after we get through this front part, the ball will roll downhill faster. Right?
Yeah. I want to go over now what the Albed say here, to actually reveal their dialogue. If people feel like that's a spoiler, then we will have to put some time codes. So, time codes, spoiler. We're going to talk about what the Albed actually say in English. So what they're saying, the first Albed says, what is this? And the second one says, a fiend in human disguise. I thought that was weird. Can fiends take human form? Now, we're going to talk more about fiends and the nature of fiends and like the afterlife in this game and all of that later. We're going to get like small pieces of that probably by the end of this, but I am a little confused about the idea that they believe
where would they have come
can
to that
disguise themselves as a human.
conclusion? Huh.
But again, we'll discuss that much later. Okay, the next Albed says, yes, it is so. And the other one, we kill it. And then Riku says, wait, what if it is human? And they respond, they are the same in death. Now that's the part that is going to be explored much later.
Yes.
With how afterlife works in this game, right? Then she says, I forbid it, we bring it with us. And then she says, sorry, and her solar plex punches him just like Delita in Final Fantasy
in the
Tactics,
stomach.
and he passes out. He wakes up on their ship. They go in there and activate it. There's some spotlights that turn on. And as you swim out, I actually want to see if you picked up on this. As you swim out, the camera like pulls up as you're kind of resurfacing and reveals a big shape there.
I don't have that. I didn't put it there.
Okay. I didn't notice this either.
Yeah.
On, I don't know how many playthroughs.
I do remember watching it and being like, oh, they're showing something. And I looked at it, but I was like, I just don't know what it is.
Okay. I'm going to put this into what the Albed say here when you resurface, because they basically say it.
Oh, okay.
What the thing is that they found.
Yeah.
So there it is. Time codes for spoilers here. You get back up and the Albed say, we found the airship. And then another one saying the records were right. And another one saying, now how do we drag it up?
Okay. So it had been too long since I had played the game to recognize what that
the airship
was.
actually looked like.
Yes, exactly.
Yes,
it looked like a thing. It kind of looks like a submarine or whatever. So it's like, okay. But okay, that makes sense.
This is actually the airship of this game.
For
the
later
Albed are pulling it out
nice.
of the water.
That's pretty cool.
And it's like an ancient technology
cool.
that they excavate,
like
the Albed excavate.
Okay.
Thank you for joining us. We appreciate you for watching and supporting the show and for your comments. There's going to be a lot of discussion for this game in the comments.
I think so.
I think they did that on purpose. Like they really wanted to leave a lot of things vague about the world building so people can talk about it. So there's going to be a lot of that going on throughout the series.
Yeah.
But anyways, we'll see you guys next week. Play up to the Kilika Temple if you haven't done that already the last 2 times I told you to do that. That's what we'll get to next time. So see you then. Welcome back to the State of the Arc podcast. My name is Mike.
My name is Kason.
We left off in the last episode with that dream that Titus had where his dad was making fun of him. And then he woke up saying, I hate you. And it's in this moment, it's still kind of the middle of the night. So he wakes up in the middle of the night and he overhears outside the sort of little tent that he's in. Lulu and Waka having a conversation. She's sort of chastising him about his brother Chapu and how he won't move on from his death. Like enough, you know, like you've held on to this too long. And I think she says something like he can't be replaced or he won't replace him or something like that. And she's referring to Titus.
Right.
Who Waka then comes and informs us that he looks like him. Now, I don't...
Yeah, that's interesting.
I don't know if it's meant to imply that he's looks exactly like him, or if it's more like, oh, you resemble him.
You remind me of him.
Yeah, you remind me of him somehow.
Well, having not played this game in a while and playing this, my thinking was, oh, Chapu is what they call Jacked.
Oh,
right.
Okay.
I'm like, oh, because it looks like us. Oh, right, because our dad was, oh, I get it now, right? Now, for anybody listening, if you don't know how Jecht fits into this yet, but he's not Chapu.
No.
Chapu is not Jecht, but remembering that he fits in somehow and trying to figure out where to place him, and then hearing that Chapu resembled us and was once part of the team years ago, it seemed natural for me to then assume that this was Jecht. Right?
Yeah, I suppose, apparently, I don't think we've ever seen, no, we did. We just saw him in the dream.
Yeah.
So he doesn't really look like his dad.
It's true, but that's just a thing that people say. Even when people don't resemble each other in art,
mannerisms,
or movies or games. Yeah, it's usually like, oh, he's like his father, even though some people would say they don't look anything alike.
Sure, yeah. So yeah, apparently Titus looks like Chapu, Waka's brother. So she's upset, and this is probably something I'll kind of return to a little bit. I've been having a lot of conversations with our patrons when I do the streams for the game about my feelings about Lulu as a character, and there's been a lot of back and forth with that.
Yes.
The voice actress. Anyways, there's a lot to kind of like. I don't know how much of that I'm going to go over here or not, because my feelings are still kind of in flux with this character as I continue to play through it.
She is a very mysterious character.
Yeah,
we don't really know how to take her for most of the game.
I think she's a great character, like on paper. I just feel like there's a couple places where she could have used like an extra scene or maybe like an extra sort of like on-screen appearance to help transition her feelings about Titus from the beginning to kind of towards the end or something, as it develops a little bit. But I'll go over that more in detail later if I feel it's necessary.
Okay.
The reason she's so mad at Waka about this is because she was, I think she was, Chapu was her fiance.
Yeah.
And he went to join the Crusaders and ended up dying fighting Sin.
Yeah.
So she wants to move on from this. You know, she doesn't want a reminder of that pain, right? Waka won't let it go. He continues to sort of hold on to his memory and hope about him. And now that Titus has shown up and he looks like Chapu, it's like Waka has really clung to him.
Right.
And she doesn't like that.
Yeah.
She's like, no, like, let it go. But it's not so much about, you know, because internally, she wants to be able to not think about it and move on.
Right.
And with Waka constantly bringing it up and being a guardian, she's going to continually be reminded of Chapu, and she doesn't want that. Yeah. So that's where the anger is coming from, right?
Yes.
So she yells at him and kind of, you know, walks off, and Waka comes back into the tent, and he explains all this about how his brother died in the Crusades against Sin. I really liked the end of this conversation because Waka is like internalizing what Lulu has said to him, and he's trying to apologize for that. He says, I know it kind of looks like I'm using you, but I'm not. And Titus is completely understanding of that and actually thanks him for all of his help. I really liked that moment.
That moment was good.
Yeah.
It's even better in the Japanese.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's even better. Because he doesn't say, I'm not. Right.
Oh.
In the Japanese, he says, I know it looks like I'm using you, and then he kind of pauses for a minute, and then he says, I'm sorry.
Oh.
Not, I'm not. He apologizes,
I
right?
like that.
So it's better, in my opinion, because he's being a little more honest about it, where he's like, it looks like I'm using you, and I wish I weren't, but I am.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry that I'm using you. And then, well, Titus is just like, dude, I don't belong anywhere. Like, you're helping me out, I don't care.
Yeah.
Right? It's good. I like it better, him saying, I'm sorry and accepting it, instead of saying, but I'm not really using you, though. It's like, no, he fesses up to it. He's like, I'm totally using you. But, you know, can we still be friends? And Titus is like, yes, absolutely. So the Japanese, I think, does a better job there.
Yeah, I like that too. It's a nice moment between them. And one thing I really like about what they're doing here, we're probably not going to get up to Luca today, and Luca is where we're going to learn
blitzball.
An element about Waka's personality.
Oh yeah.
Without spoiling anything, that brings a little more conflict into like how the player feels about him, right?
Okay.
But what I really like about that is that before they introduce that aspect of the character, they really attach you to him.
Yes, yeah.
They make him very likable. They make him bond with Titus, who's our kind of avatar POV character.
Yeah.
And it's like you feel like he's you know, like an older brother type figure who's taking you under his wing and like really helping you be introduced into this world and really cares about you.
Yeah.
And so you feel like genuinely endeared to this character right away. And I like that they did that first.
Yeah.
Because it will actually create nuance to the discussion about what this character, this other aspect of his personality, I don't know if you call it a personality trait, belief system, something like that, that makes it harder to just dismiss the guy, right? And so I really, really like that they do that they make him so likable early on.
Yeah, I think that's good.
So I'll bring that up again probably in the next episode when we get to that. But okay, so the next day, Waka gives Titus Chepu's sword. And
and we're going to react to The Living Nightmare of Jake Paul, okay?
Legit, got the stamp on it and everything. Is this mean?
I mean, yeah.
Jake Paul told the New York Times his ultimate vision was to create an empire of dozens of talent under me, to take my power and multiply it so that I become bigger than myself. Which sounds like a super villain origin story. Who talks like that? The official arrangement was that an influencer signed to Team 10 could live in a giant Beverly Grove mansion for free as long as they were producing content that Jake could monetize, as every member was reportedly required to sign a contract that allowed Jake to take 10 to 20% of their ad revenue for up to 5 years, even if they left the group, which maybe to an impressionable teen didn't sound like the worst trade. After all, this is Jake Paul we're talking about. He can make you famous, man, come on. That's at least what AJ Mitchell thought when he signed on to Team 10 at 14 years old. The original Team 10 lineup consisted of an age range of 14 to 19 with no official parental supervision whatsoever. Minors were basically meant to fend for themselves in a wannabe frat house led by this man. I don't think I have to explain why that's a recipe for disaster. While AJ appeared to be living a life of luxury on social media, he claims he was also deprived of food and made to sleep on the floor during his time at Team 10. As he himself will tell you, Jake's true business model was far from the carefree utopia he claimed to offer.
They have this electromagnetic machine that's basically like a torture device.
But it may be hard for me to do this next part sober, which is why I'm especially grateful for today's sponsor, Vance Global. Vance Global is an all-natural CBD company based out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, delivering quality hemp-derived products at affordable prices. As long as you're at the legal age, just to be clear. Look, I'll just level with you here. This is my new favorite company, partly because they didn't even give me a script. I can say whatever I want here, just completely unfiltered. I could throw in some fart sound effects or a picture of gangster SpongeBob, and I bet they wouldn't even care. These guys are only focused on delivering quality products, which is why they sent me over $100 worth of their gummies. Popping some of these bad boys is the only way I've been able to keep myself from having a coronary as I sit through 8 hours of this shit. See, they'll let me curse too. And while you should always be responsible and never take more than one gummy at a time, that just means one bag will last you even longer, which is already good for me as someone who doesn't have the best tolerance for these kinds of things already. You can rest assured that Vance uses only the most organic ingredients, putting a heavy emphasis on the integrity of their products, with everything being lab tested. And lucky for you, it took so long with this integration that they actually just came out with brand new carts that contain 85% full spectrum CBD distillate and 15% Maui Wowie terpenes. Not to mention their brand new line of HHC gummies and carts that just hit the market too. In fact, you can find all of their content listed on their website.
Holy fuck, that's a long ass sponsor. Holy shit, sorry.
With Jake's determination to convert any and every conceivable scenario into content to further the brand, privacy must have been borderline impossible to find living at the Team 10 house. In addition to Jake chainsawing through doors to wake people up in the morning and smashing his assistant's property for funny videos, 9-year-olds were lining up and down the block in hopes of catching a glimpse of their favorite band of influencers after their address leaked online. These disturbances, though, didn't cause Jake to stop and reflect on how his negligence could be negatively affecting the people around him, and instead only seemed to fuel his desire to become YouTube's new $1 million bad boy. I really can only describe his—
You could have at least watched the entire ad while you watched this incredibly long video made by someone else. The ad is still shorter than this 3-minute ad break. Man, shut the fuck up, bitch. Why is it that motherfuckers come in here, random chatters come in here and like tell me how to react to a fucking video made by a friend of mine who is a familiar content creator, a friend who's been on this fucking show. Oh my lord, dude. Like, what? You guys are the biggest fucking bots on the absolute planet. It is mind-boggling to me. I didn't even do a fucking, the funny part is they watched it on their own. They skipped the ad too. Yeah, I know. It was a debate? What do you mean? It's not a debate. It's not the top of the fucking hour.
Content
it's a bad,
Nick Jr. on crack.
It's a bad debate.
Clickbait and controversy financed the mansion he absolutely neglected. But this perfect
also, I watched most of the ad regardless.
storm allowed for titles like "He Jumped Off Our Roof," "Traffic Slip and Slide," and all those wonderful taser videos we love so much to garner tens of millions of views on the regular. This was when YouTube pranks were at peak popularity, and Jake wasn't about to miss his chance to make an easy dollar. Even if it meant tricking Tessa Brooks into being handcuffed to a basketball goal only to taunt her with a very real taser. In another prank on Tessa titled "Barry..."
Bro, Jake Paul is literally what happens when you got the kid that like tortured animals for fun, have a YouTube channel and gain mainstream popularity. It blows my mind. I don't know any of this shit because like I'm 31 years old and I didn't follow any of this. And I just always thought that he was just like a dude with really some fucked vibes. You know what I mean? Not realizing that the vibes are worse than just like fucked.
Buried alive prank freak out. Jake starts by detailing
Hassan doesn't support small content creators. Why would you say that? Like Jay Aubrey is 1 million subscribed. I 100% support him. He's not a small content creator, and I raid small content creators every fucking night. But you don't hear that. You hear your mom screaming as I raid her pussy every night too. So you unfortunately don't get to see the raids that happen at the end of the broadcast because you're too busy trying to fucking muffle the sounds of your mom screaming with pleasure. Okay?
how he and his buddies are about to smother her with blankets while she's asleep and wake her up with ambulance sounds to simulate the inside of a coffin.
You go into someone's room while they're sleeping, you put a ton of blankets over them. It's like a lot of weight and like pressure, and they feel like they're in a coffin. And guys, this would only work because like they're just waking up, and then they're still asleep while all of this weight is on them, and you play an ambulance noise, and then you start to talk like, it's gonna be okay, it's gonna be okay.
Yeah, there's no, cancel culture is so fucking fake. There's no better representation of like the fakeness of cancel culture than what this is. Like, Jake Paul has only gotten more and more famous throughout this process, throughout this time, as he has become more and more unhinged in his commentary and his content. It's like all the stuff that he's done is just like, how can I be the most unhinged sociopath you've ever seen?
She's gonna make it through it, she's gonna make it through it, and then they freak out. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. Are you okay?
No, that was so scary.
Are you mad at me? You couldn't breathe?
No.
I can only imagine like waking up to that.
And then it just cuts to him opening fan mail.
I was reading through all of it last night. I'm gonna get to opening the rest of it, but thank you guys so much for sending the fan mail.
And again, even if this was fake and Tessa was totally on board with the prank, Jake still takes the time to explain to his audience of 4-year-olds how to do it themselves. It doesn't excuse anything when the behavior is
Isn't this guy the England is my city guy? This one?
being promoted. You'd think Jake
I like him. That's the only one I remember out of everyone in this crew, I guess.
Such a younger audience.
England is my city guy.
It doesn't excuse anything when the behavior is
Isn't this guy the England is my city guy? This one?
being promoted. You'd think Jake
I like him. That's the only one I remember out of everyone in this crew, I guess.
Such a younger audience might cause him to be a little more responsible with what he was putting out, but no. He'd rather prank his friends into thinking their fellow Team 10 member bled to death in the bathroom.
Oh my god. That's not funny.
Okay, to be fair, like some of this stuff is like not as bad as others. Like I wouldn't even consider this one to be like all that sociopathic, especially because like most of this shit's fake. Like that one's fine. You know what I mean? Trauma lol. No, I mean it's just like it's like a lot of this is fake. Remember, it's like it's literally fake.
What is that? That's not funny. That's not
No, I'm saying like obviously he didn't actually kill the person. No, I meant it's fake as in like their reactions are fake. They know what's going on.
Jake Paul is savage, baby.
Yeah, these people were basically living in the Team 10th circle of hell. Thank you. But the group finally reached their peak of success with It's Everyday Bro. And while it may have come out 6 years ago, I will never not laugh at England is my city. Godspeed, Nicholas Crompton. This was his first and only video to crack almost 300 million views. But such sudden exposure also introduced Team 10 to a new wave of criticism they couldn't avoid. And being lambasted on such a public stage meant Jake's dark secrets couldn't stay hidden for long.
I don't even want to talk about it because like it makes me so uncomfortable and like I just hate mentally going
Aren't these people all like friends with one another too?
back to where I was in that state of mind and just even thinking about that situation because it's just so emotionally draining.
Because Team 10 threw more than a few disses her way in their biggest song to date, Alyssa Violet took to her YouTube channel to clear the air on her ex Jake after the two went their separate ways earlier 2017. Starting from the very beginning, Alyssa talks about first meeting Jake at a Logan Paul meet and greet her senior year of high school. After getting to know one another, Jake promised to make her dream of becoming an actress and model a reality by adding her to the Team 10 roster. The two would become pretty close from that point on, as moving into a mansion together only strengthened their bond. The only issue was Jake never made the relationship official, purposely leaving Alyssa in the dark by showing her love one second, then treating her with absolute disdain the next.
And like he knew exactly what he was doing to me. He like played all these mind games. He would literally tell me he loved me one day and then tell me he hates my guts the next day. He told me he loved me one night and then like a couple days later he flew out this girl from Ohio. They were like hooking up in Ohio. That happened all the time.
She never quite knew.
Damn, bro. He was dating Alyssa Violet while simultaneously like, you know, they don't make him like they do in Ohio. You know what I mean?
what to expect as she described mind games that included Jake being able to see other people but not the other way around, flying various girls out to the house night after night, knowing exactly how it made Alyssa feel. She described having to put on a facade around these women and pretend she wasn't bothered by the fact they were sleeping with the person she loved.
You would kick her out of the room they shared to have sex with other women. I'm not gonna lie, we should just not know this about anyone, especially not about Jake Paul. Like, I don't know. There's like I love Jaubrey's videos. I think he does a very good job of like making it like hyper specific, going through all of the details. Some of it I would consider to be minutia that I would leave out, but also a lot of the other stuff is just like, I don't know. I just feel like it feels weird to like know this stuff about anyone.
Even when she could hear it happening in the next room.
Like I'd hear the front door open, Jake would come home with like a...
Bro, this person has spammed this nonstop. Okay, I don't know. Ludlock. This is the Ludlock. Okay, calm down. Get a wireless lav mic for the puppy time. Check the Ludlock out. Hey, this is the Ludlock. The wrong shit is doing it without consent. And then back to the Ludlock. Okay, we'll look at it later, okay? God damn, Ludbud's in here working overtime. Jesus Christ.
Girl, my stomach would just drop. My heart would just like start beating like so fast. I felt like I was gonna like be sick. And I'd just get back from the gym, I'd be cooking food, and then all of a sudden I'd hear them upstairs like I could hear it. I could literally hear it. Like, do you know what that does to a person that you like love? And then you could just hear them like banging another girl upstairs. And that's happened so many times. Like, it's not, something clicks in your head.
If you ever had true feelings for someone, you can probably imagine how heartbreaking this must have been. Alyssa stated that she didn't know why she stayed for so long, other than she loved Jake and was determined to do everything she could to make it work. Not to mention she too had signed 5 years of her life and 20% of her own ad revenue over to Jake. So of course she felt a little trapped.
There's nothing I can do about it because like it's his house. I'm in a contract with him. I'm basically where I'm at because of him.
Dude, why does like a demon high school bully from Ohio have these like incredible entertainment contracts? Like he was doing 360 deals with like, you know, girls that he was like fake dating. You know what I mean? Like what the fuck is happening? Like this motherfucker is the inner scope of like what, YouTube? Like how? What demonic lawyers are like, this contract is gonna be so fire? You know what I mean? It literally blows my mind. Like you have whole ass adults that went to whole ass big ass law schools, okay, past the fucking bar and shit, that are doing contract law, and they're basically writing these contracts for 14-year-olds, like 360 deals. How is that legally permissible? Like, I don't even understand how any of that shit would have held up in court in any capacity.
And like, I didn't really have a place to tell him that he was wrong, even though he was really, really wrong.
Jake was able to maintain total authority over everyone there, determining who got the most exposure, who left, etc. It wasn't until Alyssa began treating him the way he had treated her for so long that he finally dropped her from the team. Just like that, Alyssa was cut from the massive empire she helped build and left homeless, only to be dissed by her friends on a major song a few months later. Obviously, you'd have to understand her frustration, going so far as to call Jake an emotional abuser in a later interview.
And I want to clear the air because he's not like a physical abuser, like he's not an abuser, but it's mentally and emotionally.
Except for the fucking taser stuff, like, except for what you saw on camera that we, you know, legally were forced to do, kind of, with this insane banger 360 deal. Like, holy fuck. Mind-blowing shit.
100%. Every day, 2,000 times a day. I can't even remember a conversation where it was like me walking away like feeling good about myself.
And really, it's no wonder that despite this happening 5 years ago, the two have never really been able to reconcile.
Whenever Jake would come over the house, he's been in my house like 2 times in Ohio, like back in the day, and like no one liked him.
Oh my gosh, she's also from Ohio. Dude, what the fuck? Okay. Dude, Ohio needs to be stopped, okay? As a state, as an institution, everyone needs to just, we need to stop participating in the fucking nonsense that is Ohio, okay? What the hell is in the water, dog? What's happening?
Him. So that should have been a red flag.
When's the last time we've talked to him?
I have had him blocked for years. He's
still unblocked? You still have him unblocked?
Wow.
That kid's so problematic. I'm like, I don't even want to deal with it.
Alyssa could see the red flags very early on, and while it may have been hard then, it was probably for the best that she escaped Team 10 when she did. Plus, the diss track she made with Ricegum still goes pretty fucking hard. Among the next major members to leave were Ivan and Emilio Martinez, who Jake flew out from Spain to live with everybody in the Team 10 house around the same time the
Or you act like LA's better? No, it's not. There's a lot of people from Ohio out here, like the Paul brothers. Okay, so no, it's not.
Group was forming. Shortly after, another set of twins left the group.
Oh, my goats, dude, the Dobres. The content legends, dude, content warlords, honestly.
Interestingly enough. While staying in LA, they were subjected to frequent racial discrimination and harassment from Jake himself, who made fun of their English and mocked them with slurs, taking it to such an extent that Jake prohibited them from learning English since it made for funnier content, according to them.
He started making fun of us because of our English. He was saying to us all the time, like, we found out what was and like, we found out what was and we were like, he cannot joke about that. There's in blogs that he's calling us Martiners. We tried to get a teacher just to know English, just to learn English, how we're gonna learn English. And they were like, no. Why? Because
he's so racist. He was fucking being racist against Spanish motherfuckers, bro. Like, that's Ohio racism right there. You know what I mean? When you're calling Spanish motherfuckers who are also white, like that's like European level racism. You've leveled up at that point. Like, what are you fucking what are you, Benjamin Franklin? Like, what the fuck is this? Like, wow, these swarthy Spanish, these swarthy Spaniards.
it was fun for their vlogs. Like, it was like, yeah, it's fine because it's like funny.
They were also made to sleep in the living room for a total of 4 months after being told they'd be getting their own room. But even when they got a room, they were still mortified of going to sleep since Jake would make them leave their door unlocked so that he could wake them up with whatever prank he saw fit. Such a lack of privacy prompted them to ask Jake if they could live somewhere else, but Jake wouldn't.
B slurs against Latinos, not Spaniards? Yeah, no shit. That's why it's like, that's what I'm saying. It's like next level, you know what I mean? That's the point. That's why it's like kind of funny as well.
Allow it. When the two went back to Spain to see their family, Jake and friends ended up destroying a wall of their fan art for the sake of a vlog, ripping apart the twins' room when they weren't there to do anything about it.
Goodbye, Martinez room.
Bro, this dude literally turned this fucking mansion into a... He turns mansion into a literal fucking sweatshop for content, for children. He was literally doing child labor sweatshop content, where he basically tortured them.
It's every day, bro! Oh! Martinez, I'm home! Woo! This is fun, man.
Of course, this all gets worse when they accuse Jake of holding their money hostage, as Jake and whoever else was the higher up at Team 10 refused to send any of it back to their family in Spain who could use the help.
We did a brand deal with Team 10. We're like, yo, Team 10, can you guys send it to my mom? To my mom because she needs money. Guys, I asked them.
I mean, this
about
is classic.
About bank account in LA, in the USA, and they're like, you guys don't have visas, so you guys can. And then I found out now you can have a bank account in LA without any permission. So the reason is like they were lying to us to have our money.
It's worth noting that they've since forgiven Jake, it seems, but all of this does go on to show what a house of horrors this place really was.
You wanna go back to Spain? Oh, you wanna go back to Spain?
14-year-old AJ Mitchell once stated he drank so much at a Team 10 party he blacked out, telling the New York Times about parties the group would attend, in which 20 to 30-year-olds would be mingling with teenagers, leading AJ to start a sexual relationship with a woman nearly a decade older than him whom he had met at an influencer party, stating, "I was just a baby. I had a baby face. I feel like that's just weird now." His mother telling the Times, "Had I known anything about any relationship with a girl 10 years older than him, I would have had the law involved." But AJ kept the full scope of his experiences hidden from even his parents until he left the group in late 2016, just months ahead of Jake being forced to move for turning his ritzy LA neighborhood into a living hell for neighbors. See, Jake has never been known for having much regard for the people around him. In fact, it's quite the opposite. His brash and uncaring demeanor is what fuels his ego and bank account. But that doesn't mean a few haven't tried to pick apart his psyche either. Enter YouTube's favorite animal lover, Shane Dawson.
Oh,
Love that specific attention though.
oh no.
With like the neighbors. Like I didn't like beefing with them, you know?
Premiered on September 20.
So what happened with Shane Dawson? Like, what was he doing? He was doing like image rehabilitation for some of the most controversial YouTubers or something, and then like, again, another person that I like never really watched, never really understood the appeal of. Like, there's so many motherfuckers like this on YouTube where I just like didn't really get it, and then they just like kind of quietly. Hide your cats. He was basically doing that, yeah, with Jake and Jeffree Star.
25th, 2018, the mind of Jake Paul aimed to examine the relationships and psychology of a man who had become pretty much despised across the entire internet, taking place over the span of 8 episodes with a runtime of about 7 hours.
It does blow my mind that in like the new wave of content creators, a lot of people get mad at content creators in general, like in this day and age, like, you know, Gideon being an example, or even fucking like I Show Speed, when you think about like the shit that Speed has done, and he's like 17 and he does like unhinged shit. A lot of that pales in comparison to like what the fuck Jake Paul did for like, you know, almost a decade. It is kind of weird. Like, bro, Shane Dawson openly did blackface for like 10 years. His rabbit hole is the craziest shit ever. He busted on his cat. What the fuck? Okay, I don't want to know. I don't want to know. I don't want to know. Okay, just stop. Just don't tell me anymore. It's one of those things where it's like I've seen too much. I don't want to know. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to see it. It's like I'm happy in my fucking freak side of the world where like I talk about the unhinged, manic, psychotic fucking losers in the Republican legislature. Like, you know what I mean? I just...
hours. For perspective, I barely publish 7 hours of content a year. I want you to imagine for a second having to work on this series and spending tens of hours in a room with these two individuals.
You do not know how bad Shane Dawson and other creators were? No, because like when this shit was popping off, I would only ever cover it if it made it into like mainstream media news, and rarely ever that, because since the beginning of mankind. I am of the mindset that there has always been content creators or entertainers that have basically done like chaotic things like this to appeal to a young audience that is looking for this kind of thing. Like that, I always say like kids have an anarchist tendency, right? And I don't mean like abolishing unjustifiable hierarchies type anarchists. I mean like literal anarchy, like in the colloquial sense, like burn shit to the ground. Kids are fucking little edgelords. They're insane. They're mean. They're little sociopaths. You know what I mean? They're not like learning. They haven't like developed their brain yet. So that's kind of always how it's been. Aiden Ross is doing it right now, you know what I mean? But he's doing like even then a more tame version of that, I guess. Cause like, I mean, the Suicide Force shit was inhumane. He literally stood next to and filmed the dead body. Like, how did not a single person in that group find anything wrong with that? Yeah, no, but that was the brother. That was Logan Paul, which I agree was like so insanely unhinged. What is this? Shane was just constantly making racial, homophobic, transphobic, pedophilic comments just for clicks, but once he had Tana Mongoose pee on him, it was over. What? Tana Mongoose peed on... What? Remember, I don't want to know. I don't want to know. This is fine.
Then tell me there's a God. Despite a few insightful interviews with people like Alyssa Violet going into more detail about her relationship with Jake, the series didn't actually reveal too much about the inner workings of Jake's mind, with Shane and his associate Katie Morgan being widely criticized for not being subject matter experts, along with their liberal use of the word sociopath being a problem. If you ask me, anytime Shane made a documentary on someone, it was always because they needed their reputation saved. Shane was never as concerned about doing an objective analysis on his subjects more than he was trying to rehabilitate the careers of people who he figured deserved a second chance. And to give him credit, it did work. The series garnered over 175 million views and undoubtedly ended up shining a more positive light on Jake Paul. By that point, it was clear that whether you loved or hated the Pauls, they weren't becoming any easier to avoid.
So why did like Shane Dawson's, you know, like I said, a PR operation for like fallen YouTubers fall apart? What happened there? Oh my God.
Even clearer when Jake and Tana Mojo's subsequent relationship and marriage trended everywhere the following summer.
There we were. Shane Dawson's sociopath kids getting engaged at a nightclub in Las Vegas, Nevada.
As we know from prior instances, Jake has always had a tendency to fabricate his relationships with women when it directly benefits his financials. First, he pretended to have a relationship with Alyssa Violet. Then it was Erica Costell, another member of Team 10 who you can see in Jake's Losing My Virginity vlog. But after that time, everybody in Team 10 said,
dude, poggers, dude. Like, this is what I mean. It's like kids love this shit. Kids love a person with like financial freedom that has like a lack of like safeguards that adults have in kid format. That's why they love and gravitate towards Andrew Tate. He'll be like, oh, I have the sickest cars and I have sex with all the women. And if you're like 13 and you see that and you're like, oh my God, this guy's fucking awesome. Like, holy shit, I want to drive a fucking fast car and like have sex with women and shit. And yes, I said what I said. I'm thinking about myself as a 13-year-old. Back then, if I saw someone like Andrew Tate, I would have been like, this guy's the coolest, okay? We were all dumb as fuck at that point and still are, okay? That's it. 13-year-olds are fucking idiots. Like, this is just the truth. I myself was one. So basically, like, that's what Jake Paul is doing. That's what Andrew Tate did. It's just like a very target-rich environment. Very weird. I don't really understand the appeal. Okay. But, you know, yeah, when we were growing up, we had Jackass, and I didn't understand that either, for the record. Like, a lot of people will shit on me, but I never fully understood I always thought it was weird. Like, I was like, why the fuck are these dudes just, like, hurting themselves? And I always hated Bam Margera because he was so disrespectful to his parents. I remember that. Like, I had a very specific disdain for Bam Margera because of how awful he was to his family members, because I was like, he is disrespecting his family. This is unacceptable. My Turkish ass was like, that's not good. I don't know why. I don't know what kind of social conditioning warped my fucking brain, but like, I literally could not stand to watch it. I was like a kid sitting at home watching these fucking videos going, I'm angry. Like, why is he behaving this way? The disrespect to his dad. Literally. Like, I could not believe it. I was like, it made me mad. Okay. Bam is currently on the run from the law. Great. But I don't know what it is. Like, oh yeah, Bam was exactly like J. Paul. I think like, no, it's the same vein of content. It's like being crazy, reactionary, edgy. It's because you're trying to appeal to the, you know, lowest common denominator. If Astaghfirullah was a person, exactly. So my point is, my point is basically that, like, first of all, but for the people who are saying, see, you weren't a stupid 13-year-old. No, I had plenty of fucking stupid tendencies, dude. I watched I watched Blue Mountain State. I love that. I watched Entourage. I love that shit. I always wanted to like come to America and live the American lifestyle with like models and whatnot. So I had like different kinds of bad. I certainly still had like different kinds of bad influences and what I considered to be like cool and good. I thought that at the top of the hour there was no 3-minute ad break, for example. And then I realized if you no longer want to see those ads, all you need to do is subscribe, which you can do for $5 or for free with the Twitch Prime, or by getting gifted a sub if you're lucky. But like I said, oh, here's the 3-minute ad break now, by the way. Like I said, I just always considered that to be like disturbing and not for me. So I felt like there's something wrong with me for not appreciating this kind of content. But now, as I am older, as I grow older, and I look at shit like this, I get it. Like, I mean, it's not for me, but I understand that like children love this shit and they will always love this shit. And you're never going to be able to like fully stop it. I don't think, unless you are the Chinese government and you have serious control over what kind of content your children watch. But if you don't have the Top G attitude, then you're not gonna. Then your children are gonna watch Top G instead.
Fucking got married to each other, Jake realized the potential of faking an engagement for engagement. Wedding content is always going to do numbers, and frankly, I can't think of a better business move than when he and Tana's fake marriage generated millions of clicks and dollars. I still remember back then how everybody was talking about Jana every day, all of the time. Two of the most contentious celebrities getting together like this made for an inescapable effect.
Yeah, I missed all of this shit.
Grift, I have to say. And what's even more convenient than having a fight break out mere seconds after tying the knot? A live stream that goes up in flames. Not only did this thing start 4 hours after the scheduled time, the actual ceremony was a 10-minute laggy, glitchy mess with such poor connection you could barely hear what anybody was saying. Could have prepared for this moment and written something special, but I wanted to freestyle this. But with 70,000 fans all paying a $50 entrance fee to watch it unfold live from home, the stream still generated over $3 million
God damn, dude. That shit is crazy. These motherfuckers were... Dude, I do remember this side, on the business end at least. Like, when I was on Facebook, I know Logan and Jake were also on Facebook, and they were minting, dude. Like... I don't think people truly understand the amount of money that they made off of Facebook when Facebook opened up the fucking view cannon. They had like billions of fucking views on Facebook, and they were minting, they were printing, dude. They were selling so much merchandise off of Facebook. It was crazy.
Regardless of any technical issues. And I will be the first to say, I do not feel bad if you got scammed by this. Are you kidding me? $50 to watch two people who look like siblings pretend to get married? The thing wasn't even legally binding, but everyone pretty much knew that already and weren't shocked to see them break up just a few months later. What fans were more surprised at, however, was when Tana seemed to address the situation from a more sobered perspective.
And then my dad almost died that night of the wedding. He had a stroke, and I was in Vegas and been having all these dreams that he was gonna die, and then I thought he was gonna die, so I didn't go on the honeymoon. And this giant part of me wanted Jake so badly to stay and like take care of me, and when he didn't, I was so heartbroken. But it's again my fault. After talking about it with him afterwards, like Jake verbatim has said, you know, when someone dies, I celebrate their life and I move on. That's how I was raised. I wanted to fix this person who was so emotionally up, but then when it came time for them to like help me and fix me, they couldn't, and that was my fault for falling for that. You know?
The genuine pain here in her voice speaks volumes to me, and only confirms what we heard from Alyssa earlier, that Jake uses the people in his life like pawns. Pieces on a chessboard that only exists to further his own career. No matter how hard Alyssa or Tana may have tried to get Jake to engage with them on an authentic...
I barely heard what Tana was saying because, oh my fucking god, dude, look at this thing. How can this thing be real? Like, who lays like this? Look at the little toe beans, dude. Who fucking lays like this? Haha. Haha. I love this dog so much. Holy shit. Anyway, back to just the gruesome nature of like cutthroat YouTube pseudo celebrities.
Human level, Jake absolutely refused to maintain any sort of relationship with them when the cameras weren't rolling, as his top priority is, and has always been, to make as much money off the backs of anyone in his life. And predictably enough, yes, that includes his 8-year-old Jake Paulers.
Let me real quick recap what Team 1000 actually was. Alright.
The thing is, like, I think a lot of people are embarrassed to admit this, but I've never met like a Jake Pauler in the real world. And I suspect it's because, like, how old would they be now? Like, either they're too young or because, like, they just are, like high school? Is that what it is? Is that why? Like, would they be, like, in their 20s? You probably have. They just don't admit it. So they're, like, 18 to 20 years old now. Yeah, I mean, you know, I just don't think that anyone would ever fucking come out and be like, I was a Jake Pauler. They went from Jake to Rice Gum to Aiden Ross.
I guess wasn't, because it was nothing.
If you thought Logan wasn't gonna let his brother in on all the scamming fun, you'd be sorely mistaken. In fact, Jake's own history of shady promotions dates way further back than any of Logan's. Jake effectively set the blueprint on how smarmy e-celebs everywhere could swindle money out from the bank accounts of their fans' parents with the launch of Edfluence in 2018. See, Jake was determined to teach
I remember
the
this
next
one. This one's really
generation
funny.
of young, up-and-coming influencers how to make it.
I remember this one. He was just like fucking, this is Hustlers University before Hustlers University, dude, literally. Except like unlike Hustlers University, at least there's like some kind of educational value, even though like the educational component is bullshit. At least it's not like a direct copy paste of like drop shipping how-tos. But it's still a classic scam, you know what I mean? Not saying much for the record. Like Hustlers University is like the worst kind of scam. This is like the second worst kind of scam. Do you see what I'm saying?
in such a competitive industry. And considering YouTuber had become one of the most sought after jobs among today's youth, it's no surprise the course became popular. For a brief period, children all over were paying the low price of just $7 to learn the ropes from their favorite role model and join the lucrative Team 1000. Only it wasn't actually $7, and Team 1000 never existed. As it turned out, the full actual course was split into several multi-episode chapters under a completely different package, costing you a grand total of $64 as opposed to the $7 price point he advertised. So really, you were paying $7 to watch a commercial for the real deal, which sure, it may have been a bit scummy and misleading as all hell, but at least the subject matter made up for it, right?
It is kind of ironic that we are talking about YouTube. Chapter 13. Oh, sorry about that, guys. It's actually chapter 12. Come on, Jake, what are you doing? Sorry, Jake, there's a lot of chapters. All right, Jake, let's do this.
As stated, Jake's mission was to equip you with all the appropriate skills needed to make it big like...
I would love to find out if there were any, like, honest-to-God YouTubers now that actually genuinely signed on to this. Like, can you imagine? Like, Drew Gooden was like, bro, I signed on to this. It changed my life. It made me go crazy. No, not like... No, Drew Gooden, like, obviously was a YouTuber already when he did this. I mean, like a Ludwig type, you know what I mean? Someone who, like, popped off in our generation of content creators. Like, someone that is from my generation. Like, fucking I Show Speed was a Jake Pauler, and, like, let's say he bought this, and then, like, that's how he became this this massive content creator.
To a lot of kids, this course was their one-way ticket to stardom. But according to...
I did meet Drew at Creator Clash. We briefly talked, unfortunately. We did not interact for that long. Big mistake. We got to do
anyone
that.
who actually tried it, this wasn't really the case.
The more subscribers that you're getting, the more money that you're making, so that you can spend even more time on making videos, which helps your videos do better. And so guys, be consistent. Stick to a schedule. Don't go away from it. One thing that you could do is...
Similar to almost every online training course peddled by greedy influencers, most, if not all of the material within could be found available elsewhere on the internet for free. Shockingly, Jake wasn't giving you any insight into how the algorithm worked or the secret recipe for success. He was more just rattling off some of the most basic advice you could ever give, like saying people naturally want to retweet and engage on super funny videos and memes. Or follow as many people as you can and encourage them to subscribe to you.
That's sick. The follow for follow scheme, dude. Love that.
Or suck up to bigger creators and leech clout off of them, something that, to Jake's credit, he does have a lot of experience doing. Unsurprisingly, the course was panned by critics as just a quick and easy money grab at the expense of those who sincerely believed Jake could offer anything of value to their budding careers. And if it weren't for these videos by Drew Gooden, it's possible the program would have gone even more ignored, considering that by 2020, Edfluence was completely shut down. Ending the course indefinitely out of nowhere, countless people out there paid $64 for a useless link to a dead end. And about a month after that...
I'm not gonna lie, seeing this kind of shit does piss me off a little bit, in the sense that, like, people do fucking go crazy over, like, you know, minor inconveniences or, like, minor mishaps that they turn into, like, major shit with their fandoms with respect to their own content creators. Like, when... Like, for the most part, at least, I don't know, I feel like a lot of my friends, people that I like, people that I have befriended on this space, they have careers that make them look like they are, you know, monastery monks in comparison to, like, literally people like this. And yet people still fucking lose their shit. It blows my mind. Like, bad people can get away with doing shit nonstop, and they do not lose a single part of their fucking fandom. They do not lose a single piece of their fucking fandom. And nobody cares about their hypocrisy. And then people turn around and still look at the perceived hypocrisy of those who present themselves as, like, I don't know, nice people online. because they're like, nah, you can't be nice. It's fucking bullshit. You got to be a bad guy. No one is a nice guy. No one has these opinions truly. Yeah, just look at Trump. Is a great example. Exactly. It's kind of wild. It's kind of wild to consider. Kind of weird to see. If you're a scumbag, it's expected you to do shitty things, but when you're suddenly a good person, everyone wants to call you out on the smallest shit. Yeah, I mean, look at people that have done, like, you should have catered to a different audience then. The reality is that I wasn't trying to cater to a particular audience. I was just saying, the things I truly believe. You know what I mean? And the audience came because people started listening and thought, yeah, I kind of agree with this guy. That's the difference. I don't know. I don't know how to describe it.
He announced another course by the name of the Financial Freedom Movement, which he sold as an alternative to traditional higher education. Basically, it was supposed to be a more refined version of Edfluence from what I can tell. But whenever I try to access the site now, hey, color me surprised. For one reason or another, the thing kind of quietly fizzled out, but that doesn't mean it was the last of Jake's scams by any stretch of the imagination.
This guy's name is Puss Ripper. Why the fuck is this even like, what the fuck? Blow me in your house you bought with your fans' money even though you say you were anti-capitalist. I know anti-capitalism means anti-work or having a subscription revenue-based business model that surrounds, that revolves around content that you get for free.
Before Twitch gambling scandals were even a thing, Jake could be found making hundreds of thousands in sponsorship deals from Mystery Brand, a loot box company that allowed players to spend anywhere from $12 to $100 in hopes of winning fidget spinners, designer outfits, cars, and even houses. Yeah, that's literally how this thing was marketed. I'm not even joking.
I'm going for the car. The one and only real car, Rolls-Royce Phantom 2018. 0.25% chance of winning the Rolls Royce. 99.75% chance of winning the shoes. Whoever made this site, you're a freaking genius.
For all intents and purposes, it was a gambling site, one that ridiculously tried to insist you could win decadent prizes like $1,000 shoes, all from a comparatively small investment. Only the people who bought into it ended up walking away with fake Bape hoodies, if they even received their item at all, with quite a few users reporting missing packages with fake tracking numbers. One user writing, "I spent $350 on items and $38 on shipping. 1 month and 3 weeks later, I have not received anything, and the status hasn't changed to shipped." And no surprise to anyone who made it past elementary school, the service was absolute dog shit. One of the most shameless attempts at robbery I've ever seen, with the $250 million mansion that—
Bro, this is literally, this is literally fucking NFT crypto rug pulls before NFTs existed as a way to like shellac your fucking fandom. Actually, also, I can't believe they put my house up for sale. That's kind of fucked up. Like, I didn't even realize that was what was going on. I had to steal money from my millions of fans in order to be able to buy this outright with cash instead of doing this, gambling website.
They said you could win, not even being owned by the company.
Okay, let's start off with going for maybe an iMac.
See, you and I may have expected that, but Jake Paul's core audience didn't necessarily know better. The guy they developed a parasocial relationship with during the most impressionable stage of their lives had tricked them into blowing their parents' money on fake luxury items that, for the most part, were never gonna come, pocketing the presumed 6 figures he made off what everyone and their dog understands to be a blatant money grab. But just like Edfluence, he made off with a pretty decent chunk of change, so why stop there, right? As CoffeeZilla will tell you, Jake Paul has made quite the name for himself in the crypto space, to the extent that even the SEC knows who he is, which really is not what you want. As of 1 week prior to me writing this script, Jake was required by the government to pay a $400,000 fine for promoting an alleged crypto scheme alongside Lindsay Lohan and a few other celebrities, who are all said to have illegally touted cryptocurrencies owned by companies TRX and BTT, founded by Justin Sun, who was charged with fraud and market manipulation himself. Just an awesome circle jerk of amateur crooks, really. Jake's complete roster of crypto scams is so prolific, we don't even have time to detail all of them here. Just know the short list consists of MILF Token, Yummy Token, Stick Dicks, Safe Moon, Tronics, and Scared Devil NFT, earning him a combined net of about 2.
Okay, bro, after Stick Dicks, if you're still locking on to a fucking Jake Paul cryptocurrency thinking it's gonna be the one that takes you to the fucking moon, you deserve it. I'm sorry. Like, at a certain point, you gotta be like, dude, you know, I was with you on the fucking Ass Cheeks coin. I was with you on the MILF token. I was with you on Stick Dicks, but like, you have taken $450,000 of American fiat currency from me. I'm afraid I'm gonna fucking stop on this last one, okay? You gotta draw the line somewhere, you know?
$2 million, according to CoffeeZilla's analysis, as most of which have to do with Jake not disclosing that these were paid advertisements, something that the SEC does not view kindly, considering the hefty fines Kim Kardashian and DJ Khaled have both been required to pay in the past. But this wasn't Jake's first time dealing with the law, either. Apart from his COVID parties prompting the mayor of Calabasas to pass new restrictions across the entire city, Jake continued his streak of national infamy in 2020 when he got his house raided by—
Yeah, bro, they have so much fucking... They have so much money, dude. Like, this is not like fucking Twitch streamer money. This is like...
the FBI. If you know nothing about this story...
The reason why I'm bringing this up, for the record, is because... like, they got like generational wealth, you know what I mean? This is how much money, is this how much money XQC thought you made? I don't even think XQC has this kind of money. And he is fucking loaded, right? He's like out of control loaded. And even then, I don't think he has that kind of cash. What blows my mind about this is that, like, it's not that the abundance of wealth that they've been able to capture, because like that part makes sense. You're in entertainment. It's like one of the last viable fucking industries where you can make an absolute fucking killing. Mostly luck based. But he still was doing these fucking schemes, dude. Like, that's what blows my fucking mind about this entire thing. Like, dog, you live in this like Calabasas mansion. You got like 11 sports cars. And you're doing a scam that's going to, like, net you maybe a sports car. Oh, no. He's dreaming again. Like, at that point, it makes no sense. Like, you're doing this in the most, like, weird, pathetic, pathological reasons. Like, there's no way you're doing this for anything other than the love of the game. You just want to fucking scam people.
Story. I understand that may sound like a lot, so let's back up a little bit.
Jake Paul's attorney says he was out of state and not at his Calabasas home during that raid today. The FBI says they're investigating allegations of criminal acts.
On August 5th, 2020, footage of armored trucks driving down Jake Paul's neighborhood went viral across Twitter and TikTok as men dressed in full riot gear could be seen entering the Team 10 mansion and leaving with what appeared to be giant firearms, which, apart from some pretty good tweets, fueled wild speculation as to what Jake could have possibly done this time to warrant.
Okay. Why? God, the American police departments have way too much fucking money, dude. Federal
down Jake Paul's neighborhood went viral across Twitter and TikTok as men dressed in full riot gear could be seen entering the Team 10 mansion and leaving with what appeared to be giant firearms, which, apart from some pretty good tweets, fueled wild speculation as to what firearms, which, apart from Some pretty good tweets fueled wild speculation as to what Jake could have possibly done this time to warrant.
Okay, why? God, the American police departments have way too much fucking money, dude. Federal law enforcement in general, like, way too much motherfucking money, bro. You're doing a fucking raid on a YouTuber's compound.
A full-on FBI visit and confiscation. Not to mention the home of his friend being raided in Las Vegas that same day. At first, we really didn't have much to work with.
This guy, like, they brought the Ukrainian guy for this, you know what I mean? The Ukraine reporter for this. I covered this. Pretty sure I covered this, and I don't even remember it.
Not even his brother knew much when the news first broke.
I'll tell you what I know.
Nothing.
I know what you know. I don't know shit. I know my brother's okay. Physically, he's fine. But I don't know. I'm out of the loop on this one, guys.
It wasn't until a source from the FBI's Phoenix location told The Verge they were investigating allegations of criminal acts concerning a riot at an Arizona mall that took place in May of that year. An incident that Jake was actually charged for by the Scottsdale police back in June. See, Jake landed himself in hot water when he chose to vlog a protest for George Floyd. And when looting broke out, local police received over 100.
That's awesome. That's so funny. Oh my God, he tried to fucking monetize a Black Lives Matter protest. Oh yeah. Yeah, law enforcement doesn't like that.
Tips and videos of Jake Paul supposedly engaging in unlawful assembly and criminal trespassing. And while Jake maintained he wasn't involved in any looting or vandalism, he was on camera accepting a stolen bottle of alcohol very clearly taken from the store that was being looted. I'm not even sure why he was there in the first place.
I did cover this.
I don't normally count on either of the Paul brothers to obtain any substantial documentation of civil rights protests, but hey, the charges were dropped about a year later and all was right in the world. With slightly fewer legal issues on his hands, Jake could finally go back to doing what he did best. Vlogging, I mean making music, I guess? If you hadn't heard about Jake Paul's short-lived music career he tried to get off the ground, I envy you. I think we can agree he wasn't particularly—
Bro, this is so funny. He's trying to be 4G auto blow on Ozempic. Why does he look like every fucking Miami rapper? Like stitches after the fucking laser tattoo removal. Oh my God, dude.
Particularly skilled at anything that didn't involve stirring up controversy. So when the shock and awe of his persona slowly wore off, he wasn't sure where to go next. He tried to revive Team 10 to no did anything that didn't involve stirring up controversy. So when the shock and awe of his persona slowly wore off, he wasn't sure where to go next. He tried to revive Team 10 to no avail. Began making videos with Titus, or mini Jake Paul, which opens up another ethical discussion that we really don't have time to get into right now. And before his boxing career reached the point it's at—
Wait, he has a mini Jake Paul?
Now, Jake's existential dread was setting in big time. With nowhere else to go, Jake decided to throw himself into music. I don't know if I can play any of this stuff, since I assume it's copyrighted, but we can at least enjoy some of these lyrics. I came with the hits like Derek Jeter, keep a check inside the Louis like Even Stevens. My shit hit in top 50. I really don't think it is, man. It's true Jake had always rapped a little, but this was his first genuine attempt to make it such a focal point of his career, it seemed. Even after dropping several big tracks one after the other and collaborating with TV Gucci, Jake wasn't being taken seriously as a rapper. His predicament was becoming more apparent. Jake had really holed himself in with the age of the audience he had been garnering the past 5 years. His core demographic of children could only stay young for so long before they aged out of his content. Jake and his videos did not mature with his fans, and with the way things were going, he needed a way back into the spotlight. Inching dangerously close to becoming another washed-up clout chaser living in the shadow of someone more successful than him, boxing proved to be the only way out for Jake. Launching his official debut in 2020, Jake actually—
Yeah, looking at this shit makes me feel like Logan Paul objectively was like— I mean, he's also got the same fucking Ohio brain disease that Jake Paul has. Actually, you know what? Fuck it. I'm not even gonna put this on Ohio, okay? These guys are demons in their own right. I think Ohio doesn't deserve that kind of fucking branding, okay? All I'm going to say is this. Looking at Logan Paul and Jake Paul, objectively, they're both awful. They're in like a horrible off competition. Okay, they're doing a mid-off every day, all day. But like at least Logan Paul is like always been the one who kind of paves the way. And Jake Paul is just basically following suit in order to do like some level of like reputational cleansing. Obviously, I have said time and time again with respect to Logan Paul, like he could just like very easily not do some of this stuff that he has done. Like if he just like shaved off like 40% of the weird, like no reason to do this kind of scumbaggery, he would be like a perfectly fine content creator in his own light. You know what I mean? In his own, yeah, like he would just be fine. He would be fine if he did that. Whereas like with Jake, there is no like shave off. Like the damn near entirety of his the damn near entirety of his content revolves around just being awful.
Actually made some pretty decent headway in the sport, winning his first 6 fights in a row. All this new confidence led to him famously calling out Conor McGregor and even Andrew Tate. But still, the people he had fought up until that point weren't exactly other boxers. He fought a YouTuber, a retired NBA player, and several UFC fighters. But to boxing purists, Jake was far from a real contender. So to put an end to the doubters once and for all, he finally fought professional boxer Tommy Fury in early 2023 and lost. Could be a hiccup in his career or the start of the end. Honestly, I have no idea. Time will tell if he's ever considered amongst the greats, but it's hard to deny he hasn't been able to expand his outreach and grow his bank account exponentially in the meantime. As recent as 2022, Forbes pinned Jake as the 46th highest paid athlete of that year, raking in a whopping $38 million, not including the extra $30 million he just made from fighting Tommy. I don't think Jake really cares a lot about what the boxing community thinks of him. The guy is making bank and is still clinging onto relevancy thanks to the mass publicity he gets from being boxing's new biggest heel. But that's not to say there haven't been more serious claims made about Jake either. And yes, there is a trigger warning here for brief descriptions of SA, so if you aren't comfortable with that, please skip ahead to the time code on screen now. On April 9th, 2021, TikTok influencer Justine Paradise published a video to her YouTube channel accusing Jake Paul of sexually assaulting her at the Team 10 house in 2019. Throughout the 20-minute video, Justine claims the two met through a mutual friend that summer, and that she visited his home on several occasions from June to July, which can be corroborated by text messages sent between herself and Jake. She alleges that during one of those meets, he backed her into a corner away from everybody else in the house and began kissing her, which she didn't have a problem with, thinking he wouldn't make her do anything that she didn't want to do. Though he continued to bring her into his room, she says, where he began putting her hands in places she didn't feel comfortable. When she attempted to move them away, she alleges he said, "If nothing's going to happen, what's the point?" before getting on top of her and making her perform oral sex. Afterwards, she states he became cold and stopped talking to her, as she was required to stay silent on account of a non-disclosure everyone who enters the house must sign. Jake has since denied all of Justine's claims through an attorney, telling the New York Times, "Our client categorically denies the allegation," prompting Justine to be sent death threats and harassment by his fans.
I'm getting so many threats in my DMs, not just from random people, but people who are in Los Angeles telling me that they're here so I need to watch my back. People saying that
They will fight me if they see me. People saying that I need to kill myself. Like, there are so many messages of people telling me just to kill myself. And that's super overwhelming for me because I've never experienced this amount of hate on the internet before. It's so strange to watch so many people.
This is when Keemstar notoriously said, just close your mouth when he sexually assaulted her. She got death threats from 8-year-olds. No, what probably happened in that situation is like, so Jake Paul, just like every other content creator, is not just like 8-year-olds that watch him. There's a lot of like, you know, whole ass adults with 8-year-old brains that also watch. But on top of that, this is a very unique phenomenon that like, there's a lot of people that just like enter the field, enter the fray for the love of the game. We saw this with the Tory Lanez Megan Thee Stallion shooting incident, where a lot of people that don't give a fuck about Jake Paul, a lot of people who would otherwise like hate Jake Paul, will jump in to just say like, fuck you, you fucking whore, you know, you probably deserved it. Like, they literally are just like looking for an opportunity to express their violently misogynistic desires. They're like mercenaries. Yeah. So they basically just like jump on the train. They will never be a fan of Jake Paul. Like when the moment turns around, they'll still turn around and fucking be like, yeah, fuck Jake Paul. I hate that guy. But they just ride for misogyny. There's a lot of people that do that. So, you know, that's it. That's kind of how it works.
Judge even the tiniest things I say, or if I'm looking off to the side when I'm talking, which I do a lot. It's so weird to have this much attention, and especially for so much of it to be negative. It's really hard.
Not even a week after.
Yeah, the dudes that called Jonathan Majors soft for wearing pink, then turned around and started riding for him when he was arrested for assault. Yeah. Like, you can ask the motherfuckers like to give you like 3 fucking Tory Lanez songs, and they don't got it. You know what I mean? They don't got 3. They have no interest. They have no. They're not fans of his music. They're just fucking fans of misogyny. Wait, hold on a moment.
After the initial claim came out, a model and actress by the name of Rayleigh Lawley, who had been working with Jake since 2017, also claimed to the New York Times he had referred to her as jailbait throughout their time working together, and that he routinely made comments on her appearance. And after filming one video in 2017, she alleges he groped her. After forcefully telling him to stop, he reportedly ran out of the room. Rayleigh quit not long after, candidly stating, "I was with Jake for months, and I saw what kind of person he was behind the scenes, and what kind of person he put out to the rest of the world."
How much money have you made?
A lot. I don't know. It gets to a point where you make so much that you don't even count it anymore.
The Paul brothers have curated a very specific image of how they want the public to perceive them. Making themselves out to be these infamous villains of YouTube means that everyone just naturally expects them to be assholes, and thus allows them to get away with more. For years, Logan and Jake have taken turns being the more annoying of the two. Logan will mess up and get into some trouble in the woods, so Jake becomes the lesser of two evils, until he gets caught promoting the most egregious scam an influencer has ever done, until Logan decides to outdo him. It's just been a competition to see who can be the worst brother since they stumbled their